This shit like perfect timing. I went ghost, them boys can't find me. I'm busting off the X, I'm driving proper 12 behind me. I gave up on the drink, it had me moving like a zombie. I told you I went ghost, I gained some power, call me Tommy. I ain't smoking anything, I'm rolling up, I smoke.
This the first crash that they
land on runway 33. In the videos ahead, we'll take a closer look at the final hours leading up to the crash. The confusion between the PAC-25 VIP military helicopter and the air traffic controller, and how the rescue operation is being carried out. More details all in the video ahead. The plane had departed from Wichita Dwight D. Eisenhower National Airport in Kansas earlier that evening.
So it came from Kansas.
A PSA Airlines aircraft, operated under American Airlines and identified as Flight AA5342, collided midair with a military Black Hawk helicopter at approximately 9 p.m. on Wednesday, January 29, 2025. The tragic incident occurred as the plane was making its final approach toward Reagan Washington National Airport in Arlington, Virginia. American Airlines confirmed that 64 people were aboard the jet, 60 passengers and 4 crew members, while 3 soldiers were aboard the military helicopter. This plane's radio transponder stopped transmitting about 2,400 feet, which is around 730 meters short of the runway, roughly over the middle of the river. This has marked the first major U.S. commercial crash in more than 15 years. From an aerial perspective, it is evident that Flight AA5342 was approaching the airport from the south, descending over the scenic Potomac River. This area is known for its proximity to several iconic landmarks, such as the Pentagon, located nearby in Pentagon City. To the north, one can spot the striking dome of the United States Capitol building, a symbol of American democracy.
She got some new shit out, or she only got old shit out?
The Potomac River, which encircles the airport and much of Arlington, serves as a natural boundary and offers breathtaking views for arriving flights. However, this area is also densely trafficked, both by air and on the ground, adding to the complexity of air traffic management in the region. American Airlines Flight 5342, which we'll refer to as the landing flight, was on its final approach to runway 33. At this stage, called short final, the aircraft was mere moments from landing, flying at an altitude of about 400 feet. This is the most critical phase of landing, where every second counts and pilots are laser focused on safely bringing the plane down. At the same time, an Army Black Hawk helicopter, identified as PAC-25, was reportedly on a possible training flight. It was flying perpendicular to the flight path of Flight 5342, following the course of the Potomac River. The Potomac River is a designated flight corridor for helicopters, and it's common to see aircraft like this operating in the area. The key difference between the two aircraft in this scenario was their operating rules. The Black Hawk helicopter, PAC-25, was flying under visual flight rules. This means it was required to rely on visual observation of its surroundings to avoid other aircraft. The landing flight 5342 was operating under instrument flight rules, which give it priority over VFR flights in controlled airspace. This system assumes that VFR aircraft will actively maintain visual separation to avoid conflicts. Moments before the collision, the air traffic control tower at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport called PAC-25 to confirm whether they had the other aircraft in sight. PAC-25 responded that they did. At first glance, this seems like an acknowledgement that they were aware of Flight 5342's presence and were taking steps to avoid it. However, it now seems likely that PAC-25 had mistakenly identified a different aircraft, possibly a departing flight from the same airport, and believed that was the other aircraft referred to by the tower. Tragically, PAC-25 may not have realized that Flight 5342 was descending directly into its path. This misidentification could have led to the Black Hawk failing to adjust its course in time to avoid a collision. Although I'm not a pilot, this is what appears to have happened based on the available information. It's a heartbreaking incident that raises questions about how such misunderstandings can occur and what safety measures can prevent them in the future. If you have more insight or expertise, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. The passenger plane broke into multiple pieces and sank several feet into the river. Meanwhile, the helicopter ended up landing upside down on the water. Regarding the rescue mission, the main challenge is access. The water they're working in is about 8 feet deep, which is roughly 2.5 meters. On top of that, the conditions are tough. There's strong wind, chunks of ice floating around. which obstructs rescue workers.
This shit happened at like late
We
night,
also have
too,
audio
bro.
from
That
air
shit-
traffic
so
control that has been published online, capturing the moments as the
it
two
makes
aircraft
sense in
approach
a
each
way,
other.
bro, but like,
In the recording, we can
that
hear a
shit's scary,
conversation.
bro. It's just-
It appears to
Hey,
involve
stop
the
that
air
shit
traffic
like that.
controller, with P standing for priority air transport, the helicopter, and CRJ referring to the passenger plane. The response seems to come from a helicopter, but something goes terribly wrong.
Hey, this damn near make plane tickets cheap
The
as
two
hell,
aircraft
though.
continue to move
Plane
closer to
tickets
each
would
other
be
until
cheap
they
as hell.
crash,
These
and there
planes
was no
keep
response
crashing.
from the other side.
What is
This
going
long
on?
shot
I
video
can't- I can't
recorded
wait
by the
to see what
Kenby
they
Center
talking about
cam
on the other
seems to
one.
show two aircraft, a helicopter and a commercial airliner colliding, creating a huge flash. If you take a close-up shot, you can clearly see the Black Hawk helicopter traveling at an alarmingly high speed directly towards the plane, a moment of impending danger captured in stark detail. According to reports, the situation unfolded due to apparent confusion on the part of the Black Hawk pilot. He was seemingly unaware of the presence of a second aircraft in the vicinity, which ultimately led to a critical misjudgment. When the flight controller radioed in, asking if the pilot had identified Flight 5342, the pilot confidently confirmed that he had visual contact. However, the plane he was referring to wasn't Flight 5342, it was a completely different aircraft flying above his position. This misidentification proved costly. The pilot, certain he was operating safely, continued his course.
How were they on the
Tragically,
same
he ended up
level,
flying
though,
directly into the
bro?
path of an oncoming aircraft. The sequence of events highlights the immense complexity and risks of aviation, where even small communication errors or lapses in situational awareness can lead to dangerous, life-threatening outcomes. Let's take a look at a different case scenario of a Jeju Air Flight 2216. This South Korean airline was granted permission to land from the south on runway 1 northward. But control tower cautions against bird activity, so the aircraft made a slight deviation in flight path. The pilot declares Mayday after it hit a couple of birds, and it was instructed to make a go-around and land on runway 19 southward. It was at this moment the airplane encountered another problem with the landing gear, which did not open. Finally, the plane had to make a belly landing with what was supposedly a landing gear failure because it hit in the middle of the runway and crashed into the elevated localizer antenna and concrete, erupting into a huge fireball, while the tail section remained intact. Morning 8:57.
Whoa, what was that?
ATC broadcasts a cautionary
Whoa!
advisory about bird activity in the vicinity of the airport. 8:59.
What is
The
these?
pilot of Flight 7C2216 reports a bird strike, declares an emergency with repeated. This is what he said: Mayday, Mayday, Mayday calls, and notifies ATC with the message: bird strike, go around. Just 1 minute after the bird
These
strike
like
at
5
9
different
o'clock.
crashes.
The flight initiates a go-around maneuver and requests authorization to land on runway 19, which requires an approach from the opposite
I ain't
end of
gonna lie,
the
I got on a
airport's
plane that
single
had to get a
runway
run around,
that is from the north to the
ring
south,
around
which is not the
whatever
actual
this
landing
is right here,
procedure.
go around, bro, land
Usually
other
then
way.
land from the south to the north.
They usually take a little
9:01 in the morning,
Like the
ATC
X-World
clears
25,
the aircraft to
30
land on runway 19, 9:02 local time. The aircraft touches down on the runway approximately 1,200 meters, which translates to 3,940 feet from the threshold of the 2,800 meter.
scary. They
This
do
is
be
around
landing like
9,184
fast as
foot
hell, bro.
runway.
Pass it back up.
9:02 and 55 seconds later, the Airport Fire Rescue Unit completes the deployment of fire rescue equipment. 9:03 Flight 7C2216 overshoots the runway and crashes into a hill-like structure beyond the runway's end, which later on we came to know that it hit the localizer antenna and its adjacent concrete embankment. And finally, we have a missile attack plane crash. At 10:43 a.m. Kazakh time, which is Russia's Rostov Air Traffic Control Center, received a signal indicating that the crew had decided to divert the flight to Aktau due to adverse weather conditions in
They be
Baku and
landing-
Makhachkala,
they be
a city in
landing
Russia's
fast
Dagestan
as
region.
hell.
At 10:53 a.m., the Rostov flight director informed Aktau's flight manager that an oxygen tank in the passenger cabin had exploded. This explosion reportedly caused passengers to lose consciousness, prompting the crew to request immediate medical assistance upon landing.
What the fuck?
Emergency teams were swiftly mobilized at Aktau Airport in preparation for the aircraft's arrival. At 11:02 a.m., the pilots made contact with Aktau Airport's air traffic control tower. Despite their efforts, the crew faced
Just making you
significant
not wanna get
challenges
on the
during their
plane.
descent.
I'm finna
They
get on
attempted to
tomorrow.
land
That
twice
plane
but were
finna be
unable to maintain
$30, bro.
altitude or
Plane ticket finna be $30. Oh, bro, they finna, bro. Let's go ahead, go to Jamaica, bro. 15 bones.
stabilize the aircraft. Tragically, at 11:28 a.m., contact with the crew was lost, and moments later, the plane crashed to the ground. This means the plane was hit between 10:30 to 10:53 a.m. Kazakh time by the Russian anti-air defense system. In this
They hit
scenario,
that
the plane
bitch
is
with a
flying at a
rocket?
significantly higher altitude, rendering the cannons ineffective.
Bro,
Consequently, the system opts
who
to
would
deploy
shoot
a
a
missile
rocket
as
at
the
a
optimal weapon
innocent
for
plane?
engagement. The missile is launched vertically from its sealed canister. It uses its advanced onboard guidance system to navigate with precision towards the designated target. As the missile approaches, its onboard sensors continue to track the civilian aircraft, which in this case is tragically identified as an Azerbaijani civilian aircraft. The missile carries a 25-kilogram high-explosive warhead. Upon reaching the target, the warhead detonates, releasing an intense explosion. The explosion occurs near the side of the aircraft, causing catastrophic damage to its tail section. The resultant shrapnel penetrates the fuselage, inflicting severe internal structural damage. This devastating impact destabilizes the aircraft, leading to an uncontrollable descent. The severely damaged plane crashes near Aktau Airport, resulting in a tragic loss of life and a devastating outcome for all those on board. We make original videos from scratch,
Who the
so please
fuck?
do subscribe and hit the notification bell.
Bro, who the fuck would shoot a rocket at a innocent plane, bro? The fuck? Alright, bro, what happened to the